Welcome to the Horror Vault channel. We bring you the most unbelievable stories that will leave you wide-eyed wanting more. Subscribe now and hit the like button to join in the fun. But remember, once you've signed up, there's no turning back.
Once when I was a boy in my youth, an imaginative girl asked me, "Why does the bird in the cage sing?" I told her something poetic and romantic that could only have sounded pretentious in ignorance. I now know the answer. They do not sing, they scream. It was only after looking at that mirror that I understood the horror of imprisonment, of being able to stare at the world, of having all your cries and pleas come across as song. The mirror was a gift from my late grandfather. It was a surprise because I was sure he hated me. I thought he was a fool and he thought the same of me. I assumed at the time that it was for show, a gift to each of his children and grandchildren. The mirror was this massive obelisk, the height of a whole wall. On top, perched and staring down, were 3 mold dragons. Beneath the mirror, a dozen golden men carried the thing, their bones cracking under the weight. It was truly a sight of craftsmanship. I placed the thing in my study, thinking that the intricate carvings would provide occasional inspiration for my writing. At first, nothing happened. The mirror sat there, and apart from the passing paranoia of something in its reflection, a feeling common to mirrors, there was nothing to worry about. Then the dreams began. In an ethereal body, I stared down at myself asleep, and I was stuck there, only occasionally rolling around in my bed. But as the dreams kept coming, they seemed to get longer. After a while, I noticed something else besides my sleeping frame. From the sides of my bed, perhaps reaching out from the darkness below, many long, black, spindly arms of smoke and fumes were creeping towards my sides. At first I thought it was a strange kind of tunnel vision, but each night they seemed to come closer and closer until they reached my flesh. Then I began to see them digging into my arms and sides until some blood was drawn and I woke up screaming. These dreams became a nightly curse. Each night they became more vivid. I noticed that the things plunging and stabbing into me looked like branches, each covered with thousands of hairs like spider legs. Each time they'd dig a little deeper before I woke up. After a while, I would wake up with a terrible cold feeling in my arms as these black spindles tickled the bone. Several tried to burrow into my ears at the same time, slowly digging in until they tore at the sides. They slipped into my closed mouth, pushing my lips aside and curling down my throat until they grabbed my tonsils, and then I woke up vomiting. There was also a chaotic sound coming from behind my floating dream body. I could never turn around to see it, but I could feel a breath on my neck. My brain could only half process the sound, but it was loud and terrible. It took me longer and longer each morning to get back to normal. I was prone to night terrors and hoped they would go away like the others. It took me a while to suspect the mirror until I noticed marks on the floor. It was the scratches. It looked like as if the thing had moved on its own, trying to sneak back to its place on the other side of my bed. My paranoia grew as I imagined this chaotic dream noise behind me as I worked. When I felt brave enough to turn around, there was always nothing there, just the mirror reflecting my crazy face. My last night with the mirror was truly terrifying. Late at night, consumed by relentless paranoia, my frustration grew. Driven by a misguided idea, I approached the mirror, intending to confront it as if it were the cruel aggressor I believed it to be. It was a foolish idea, and I now deeply regret it. I looked at the mirror from top to bottom, the shape staring back with disinterest. With an exaggerated eye for detail, I stared into my own being, searching for the slightest inconsistency. I searched to see if my hazel eyes darted somewhere else, if the 2 buttons undone on my night shirt were the same buttons, if the heavy black bruises under my eyes grew darker, like shadows in the night. I was staring so intensely into the mirror that I jumped as my reflected body fell to the floor like a doll dropped from a hand. And then I could not move. I tried to leave my spot in the air, to look away from my corpse, but I could not. I had entered another dream. This one was the same, but different. My mind was not clouded, it was too sharp. The details of everything around me were becoming exaggerated and overwhelming. My eyes could barely move to the edges, screaming as they dried and begging for a single blink, which had become an exhausting effort. The chaotic sound came behind me again, and this time I knew it would let me turn and see it if I chose. But my subconscious froze me in animal fear, just as the chaotic force had done. The chaotic sound continued to roar from behind me. Soon I began to see something from the corners of my vision, a blackness that nipped at my sight. I wanted to see. I wanted to have a better look at the thousands of little things tickling my periphery, but my subconscious would not let me. I was forced to stare at my sleeping body as the world became a little blurrier, as my eyes screamed in pain, as fear of the things I could not see well scratched at more and more of my vision. All the while, the booming sound that I recognized but could not name was screaming wetly at my neck. I stayed like this for what seemed like centuries, trapped like a painting in slow decay. Then I woke up again. I was at my desk, drool-stained pages my pillow, the early morning sun my savior. My groggy mind was unsure of what was real, but then the dream became clear in memory, and I could feel the imagined passage of time flay my body and soul at once. After that night, I gave the mirror to my niece. She has a fondness for gaudy things and loves to keep exotic birds in cages for show, the rich. You may think me a terrible coward or a fool for not destroying the mirror. There was a brief moment after last night when I acted as you would have liked. When I awoke, I dragged my chair towards it, intending to smash the wood against its glass body. But as I approached, the dragons seemed darker in shadow, their eyes suddenly red. The men who carried them, though silent, seemed to groan in fear, and I could hear a low rumble from behind the reflection. So I pushed my chair back. I'd never bothered to ask how my niece was. Still, the dreams plagued me. It's always of my sleeping body, as I hover over it like a ghost, forced to watch, as creatures I cannot understand have their way with its flesh, that chaotic noise behind me. Every night, I pray to God. I pray that I might sleep without these horrible dreams, yet my God is always silent. The only God I hear is theirs, always laughing from behind me.